Hi, everyone. It's Chris Confessore, music director of your Brevard Symphony Orchestra, here with another online preview of one of the orchestra's upcoming concerts. Up next, on Saturday, March 12th, we have Musical Titans. We have performances on Saturday, March 12th at 2 o'clock and at 7:30 at the King Center for the Performing Arts. The King Center has recently adjusted its COVID protocols for audience members. Masks are still strongly encouraged, regardless of your vaccination status. So, as always, we want everybody to keep themselves and their neighbors safe. On the program, Musical Titans, we have music by three amazing composers. We have music by Beethoven, his famous Leonore Overture Number 3. This is the third of four overtures he composed for his only opera, Fidelio. He kept revising the opera as well as creating new overtures. This Leonore Overture Number 3 is gigantic. It's probably 13 minutes long. Ultimately, I think he felt it was too long and gave away sort of the whole plot of the opera. So that's why he went a different route, and the Fidelio Overture is now what he uses to open the opera. But Leonore 3 works great as a concert work, and it's going to be a thrilling and dramatic way for us to open the concert. Also on the program, on the second half, we have Symphony Number 1 by Dmitri Shostakovich, composed when he was just 19 years old. As sort of a graduation piece from the conservatory. And for someone so young, it's a mature piece, very much his own style. It has lots of great parts for soloists throughout the orchestra, and a really fun way for us to conclude the program. In between those pieces, we have music by Tchaikovsky, and it is his great violin concerto. Certainly my favorite of all the great violin concertos written, and we're thrilled to be joined as our guest artist on the Tchaikovsky by one of my very favorite guest artists and violinists, our friend Paul Huang, who is with us today on this video preview. Welcome, Paul.
Hello, Chris, and hello, everyone from the Brevard Symphony Orchestra. And it's a great pleasure to be here with all of you.
Well, it's a thrill to have you. We look forward, we thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to having you with us back on stage. Paul has appeared with the orchestra twice before. In 2016, he played Bruch's Scottish Fantasy, and 2018 played the Barber Violin Concerto, and we were all set to perform this Tchaikovsky in April of 2020, and what happened? It seems like something happened, and we had to postpone. But we're thrilled that that things have worked out, and you're finally here. So tell us about this Tchaikovsky violin concerto. What makes this concerto so great? What do you love about it as a performer?
Well, I think the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto is one of those pieces where you fell in love from the very, very beginning, opening few bars. And certainly I fell in love with violin because of this piece. And I think many, many other violinists would say similarly as well. I remember it was a recording of Itzhak Perlman with Normandy with the Philadelphia Orchestra on LP turntable when I was growing up listening to it. And I think what makes this piece so great is the fact that it's got a little bit of everything, and there's something for everybody. And, as gigantic as this, humongous concerto that's, stretches about, 35, 40 minutes long, but it starts out so unassuming. You would never know what it was about to come. And it has a lot of wonderful virtuosic passage that really showcases, the violinist. But I think what makes the piece ultimately so fulfilling is the fact that there are many wonderful melodies and that really highlight the singing quality of the violin. For instance, the side theme, the second theme in the very first movement, and the gorgeous second movement. It really showcases this kind of melancholy, this qualities that the violin is so well suited for. And after all, it's just a wonderful piece to play with orchestra because there's so many interchanges between the orchestra members and also for the soloist as well. And one thing, I think one of my very favorite moments in the concerto is the fact that coming out of the cadenza in the very first movement, where the solo violin just plays, nonstop from the beginning to that up to that point, and finally this very opening melody was given to the solo flute, and I'm just kind of like a little bird chirping on top of it, and then kind of echoing what the flutist is about to unfold with the continuations of this concerto. And it is true that it's very daunting for the violinist to play, even to these days, because the violinist actually does not stop playing for a while. After the cadenzas, you just keep playing until the very end, and it's actually very tiring. And it's one of those conservatory pieces where you have to train to have the stamina to play through even just the first movement, because usually a major concerto, there's always pauses here and there where the violinist can take a breather, where there's orchestra interlude or tutis, but not in Tchaikovsky's case. So that is something that, one always come back to it and then always realizing, say, let's start over again. We have to rebuild this kind of stamina once again. So, but it's a fun challenge, and I can't wait to play this in Brevard with all of you.
Well, I think the audience recognizes the challenge, especially of the whole concerto, but that first movement, I mean, almost every time you perform it, right, the audience goes crazy after the first movement because it's such a thrilling ending, and it feels like such a complete statement. Because it's such a big movement. I remember a soloist telling me, if they don't applaud, I get nervous. I get worried that something's gone wrong. So I know everybody's going to be thrilled by your performance. And it's such a beautiful piece. And as you say, it's nice for the orchestra to have such a fun role in really accompanying and sharing in the musical dialogue. Beautiful, beautiful piece, and we can't wait to perform it with you. So tell us what else you've been up to. What are other projects you've been doing this season as things have started to come back?
Well, I must say that during the pandemic year or so, things didn't go that much slowly for me. I was very lucky that I was still able to perform quite a bit, particularly in the Far East, in my home country, Taiwan, where they really didn't have any COVID cases all throughout. So the whole country, maintained a very regular lifestyle. Concert was always packed with people, and so I made about 4 trips to Taiwan during pandemic, and it so happened that I purely lucked out. Obviously, this was scheduled before the pandemic, that I was artist in residence with the National Symphony Orchestra there in Taipei. And so, I was able to do 3 subscriptions concerts, and I also curated 3 chamber music programs and 2 recitals as well. So it kept me busy during the time. And, now that things have starting back up again, including coming back to Brevard Symphony, things are taking off again. And of course, there's always bumps here and there every once in a while with, surges of cases here and there. I'm supposed to actually go on tour this week with Dallas Symphony and Fabio to Far East, which just got postponed again to next year because of some quarantine rules in Far East that they can accommodate. So, but I think what's most important and my takeaway from the pandemic is that, never take things for granted. And we have to be there at the moment because you never know what's going to happen next. So we should all cherish what we have.
I agree. Yeah, we had a concert we played here on Saturday night. It was a fundraiser for another organization. It was more like a jazz, like a big band with strings. And we haven't played that type of program in 2 or 3 years. And that was definitely the feeling amongst that group of musicians who hadn't seen each other together in this configuration in so long. It was something that maybe 4 years ago you would think, fun night, and people were really, really happy and grateful for the experience. And that's good to see, because we should, as performers, that should always be our attitude.
Yep.
So Paul has directed us to a video of a performance from a few years ago that we'll have as sort of a little musical interlude during this program. Paul, can you tell us what we're going to hear and who the performers are?
Sure. This was actually a very last minute step in that I did just right before the pandemic at a summer festival called the Bravo Vale Music Festival in Colorado. The scheduled soloist Anne-Sophie Mutter was supposed to come in and play the Mozart Concerto without conductor, with chamber orchestra Wien, Berlin. This chamber orchestra is a very special group of people that only happens during summer times, which consists of principal members from the Vienna Philharmonic and the principal members from the Berlin Philharmonic. And the leader is Rainer Honeck, who is the concertmaster of the Vienna Philharmonic, and he organized these groups every summer. So they would go on tour, usually with a soloist, and that summer happened to be Anne-Sophie Mutter. And she wasn't now able to fly into Colorado in time. So I was called in very last minute to do this Mozart Violin Concerto No. 4, which happens to be my favorite violin concerto by Mozart. So I was grateful, I was lucky, and who knew in July, Vail was snowing. So you can see probably in the videos, there was a heater pumping on stage. There are 4 gigantic heaters pumping on stage. And then all of us were freezing. I don't know how we got through it, especially the wind players, but it went very well, thankfully. And so very happy to share this video with all of you.
Let's give a listen. So terrific, Paul.
Thank you.
I remember, I guess maybe you posted on Facebook or somewhere on social media about it, and about being called in so late, and about how cold it was. You don't get too much of a sense of that in the video, but boy, amazing. And so, did you still get normal rehearsal schedule when you were out there, or how did that go? coming in
I
last
think
minute?
I believe I got in the night before the concert, and then we had a sound check on in the morning of that concert. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Really beautiful performance. That's great.
Thank
What a
you.
great experience. Yeah. So let's see. What else? Any other things to talk about? I know we're all excited. There were a number of our board members and audience members who were so disappointed. That yours was one of the appearances that was immediately canceled, and have been anxiously awaiting your return. So you're going to be getting a big welcome here next week when we see you, and we're so excited. So you're coming in just a couple days before, right? I think because we go to
Yes, I think
Vero
so.
the
Yeah.
day after this time. Yeah, yeah. So
Yes, I mean,
any
I've
trip,
always
any
enjoyed.
chance for a Disney
Well,
trip
yeah.
this time, or
Well,
not this time? I guess.
not this time, unfortunately, but I had fond memories of coming to Brevard always, and this is my third trip, as you said, and it really feels like home these days. And I know the schedules very well, and the fact that we always get to do another run out in Vero Beach, which is always extraordinary, because the fact that you get to live the piece with the same conductor and orchestra, not just in Brevard, but also somewhere else with a different acoustics. You had thought that you would mastered it, at the performances, but when you get to a new hall, it's a different scenarios again, and you really get to know the piece that much more intimately, with different acoustics and different halls, and the fact that it's with different kind of audiences, and I'm very greatly looking forward to this set of concerts with all of you, and to play with you, Chris. You're so wonderful, and I always enjoy playing with you.
Thank you, Paul. Well, we can't wait to have you back, and it's going to be a fun program, as I mentioned, Saturday, March 12th, and it's Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, Shostakovich, Musical Titans. Also coming up just a couple days before that is our announcement of the following season. The 2022-23 season is our Up Close and Classical event, and you can find information on that event on the orchestra's website. And then our season finale is just a few weeks after this program on April 9th. We have Roman Holiday, and that features music by Berlioz and Chopin, and two great tone poems by Respighi. So still some great music left on this season, and we can't wait to see you at the next concert by your Brevard Symphony Orchestra. Thank you.